Hello, y'all. We're going to talk relatively quickly about how to find resources at UNC libraries for our upcoming field trip. So first things first, we're going to go to the UNC Library catalog. So just UNC Library will pretty much get you there. UNC Library, the UNC Libraries, etc. Right, UNC University Libraries. You do want to make sure that you're at University of North Carolina. Just double check that one. You should find a landing page that looks something like this. It's got a lot of great different resources and things like that about the libraries overall. I do want to just note real quick where we're going to be so that you know what we are looking for. UNC has a whole lot of different libraries spread out all over their campus. The main undergrad library that we are going to be at is this one right here. It's called Davis Library. So anything that you see that says location Davis Library, you should be able to look at. You will also be able to go to, because they are nearby Davis Library where we are, if you find something in what is sometimes called the house library or sometimes just called the undergraduate library. If I scroll all the way down here at this one right here, you can look at books in there as well. And then the third one that's also relatively close, if you find something that's in Wilson Library or Wilson Special Collections, you can also use that as well. Wilson is a specialized library that houses primary source documents, a lot of letters and things from the Civil War itself specifically. So if you find something that you're interested in Wilson, please let me know because I can help you get sort of signed up and decide if it's worth you kind of going and taking a look at, because there's a few extra steps to use Wilson. So again, Davis, the undergrad library or house library, and then Wilson Library. Those are the ones that you can use resources from. So we go back to our UNC Library's main homepage. We're just going to start with a very general search up here. If you were a researcher doing, some deep searching, we might start in a couple of other places. And we're going to take it easy. We're just going to start with a general search here. I'm going to go back to my Civil War infrastructure topic and search for, let's say, Civil War railroads. Civil War railroads. All right, so I'm going to search. General kind of topic search is a good thing to do here. You want to try to give a couple of words, 2 or 3 words. General is a good way to go, especially at first. I'll show you some ways to narrow that down as we get in here. So Civil War railroads, probably about as specific as you would want to go. Once you get into the search, it's going to give you sort of 2 categories of things on either side of your screen. Over on the left-hand side here, you'll see this Articles Plus. This is going to show you all of the articles and things in their databases that they have. Unfortunately for you, if you are not a UNC student, if you are, that's great, but if you're not a UNC student, which most of you aren't, you will not be able to access these articles because you don't have a UNC student or professor login, or what's called an ONYEN, O-N-Y-E-N. You'll see that sometimes that's their login, internal login system. If you do have an ONYEN, you're dual enrolled, or let's say you have a parent who's a professor who's willing to let you borrow theirs or something, then you should absolutely feel welcome to use these databases. Are an extremely rich academic source. But if you're just sort of a ordinary person like us walking in to use UNC libraries, you won't be able to access any of the things that are over on the left. So don't fall in love too soon. So instead, we're going to go over here and we're going to click on Books and More. This is the category that's going to be more like the physical stuff that they have in the library that you might be able to look at while we're there. So again, we're clicking on Books and More. And then this is going to drop us into the general kind of catalog. Here's what we have found in our catalog. If you see, if we scroll down, it's got a whole bunch of different results. And then in particularly helpful or useful to you over on the left here is going to be a bunch of different filters that it might have for you. You can see it will tell you where it is. So if you come look over here, you can see Wilson Library. I mentioned that you can use things in Wilson. They've got a lot of Civil War stuff, which is why my search turned up so much here. Davis Library is really good. Those are going to be books. That's the main library. It's probably the easiest one to use. You wouldn't want to be picking anything from the Media and Design Center or the Rare Book Collection. So you would want to kind of avoid those. So if I'm oh, I only want to look at things in Davis, I could click on Davis here, and then it's going to just resort my search and only give me things that are available in Davis Library, which is good. That's a useful thing. Let's see what else over here. Other things that it will give you is it'll tell you what type of resource. If you're I only want to look at books, right? Those types of things. Thesis and dissertation can sometimes be useful, but those will often not be in Davis. So book is a good one to select there. Subjects you can sort over here as well. I'm going to show you what I think is a better or more targeted way to do that, but you can sort by more specific subjects over here as well. So those are some potentials. Once you have sort of taken a glance at what's here, you should be starting to kind of work through and check out the books themselves and also where they are, right? You want to, like I said, make sure that they are in one of the libraries that we're going to be at. So if I'm looking at this one, very helpfully titled Civil War Railroads, sounds good, then I can see that it's in Davis Library. And if I do eventually decide that this is a book that I'm going to want to use, I'm going to want to write down or take a picture of or whatever 2 things. You need to know what floor it's on. Davis Library has a lot of floors, I think 8 floors if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on that, but a lot of floors. They all have a lot of books on them. So you want to make sure you know which floor it's on. And then you also need this whole number that's called the call number here. Everything here, this EA4 6.213, you need the whole number to find the specific book that you're looking for in the stacks. It is also useful to check and make sure that it's available. If it's not available, somebody has it checked out, then it might not be there when we go there. You don't want to hit request. That's going to ask you to sign in. Like if you were a student, you could request it and the librarian would pull it, but you're not a student, so we're just going to write down the call number and find it the old-fashioned way. Before you are like, yes, okay, this is a book that I want to use, though, you do want to go ahead and open up the individual, citation is not the word I'm looking for, but the individual page for the resource itself. It will often have a little bit more information about it. This one doesn't, because it's an older book, so it doesn't have the little blurb about the book or whatnot. The one thing that it will have, and a really, really, really useful thing for you while you're trying to search and find things in Davis itself, is you're going to want to, like I said, you want to write this call number down, make sure you know it's on the 5th floor. Then if you come down here to subjects, these are all of the subjects that the librarians have tagged this specific book with, and if you click on any of these, it will take you to a list of all of the other books in the UNC system, in the UNC library system, that are also tagged with these same things. So this is a really good way to see, like, how are UNC librarians cataloging books and what other books can I find on kind of the same topic. So I found this one just by topic searching Civil War railroads, but if I come down here I can see a few others that might potentially be useful. So if you see how these are stacked here, if I just click on railroads, it's just going to give me every book that they have on railroads, which I probably don't want. If I click on US history, it'll give me every book on railroads and US history, so every book with both of those 2 tags. You can kind of see if you look at the bottom where I'm hovering over it, that's what it's going to give me. And if I go all the way to the 3rd one, now it's going to give me everything with railroads, United States, and history. So like historical railroads in the US. That still seems like a little bit too broad for me personally for this subject that I'm looking at, but that's sort of the way that these tags work. And if I take a look at this, little sort of stack over here, this one actually looks really good for my topic on Civil War infrastructure. So I don't want to click on United States, that's every single book on the US. There's going to be a lot. Don't want to click on history, that would be US and history, all books on US history, same thing with Civil War. But if I go all the way to the last one here, this is going to give me every book that's tagged United States, history, Civil War, transportation. Okay, that seems like potentially useful to me. So I've already got the information for this book down. If I click on this, now it's going to take me back to that search page, but just every book or every resource basically that is tagged with these 4 tags. It's going to take it just a little second here. Here we go. And we can see them all here. And again, same thing. I could sort over here and be like, I only want the ones in Davis, etc. But even just scrolling down, you can see a lot of, ooh, I didn't even know this was a book. I might have to check this out while we're here. So you can see all of the different books that they have that were tagged with those same tags, some of which I might have gotten to with my search on Civil War railroads, but others, I probably wouldn't have necessarily. I probably wouldn't have thought to search for boats, for example, but that is also maybe something I might want to write about. So if you can sort of find one book that's really good for your subject, a lot of times you can click on it and then you can use the subject links to find other books that might be useful. When I mentioned that you want to, this one looks like it would be good for me, and it's available and it's on Davis. When I mentioned that you want to make sure that you're writing down the call numbers and stuff like this, what this is going to look like when we get to UNC's, we'll go in sort of the bottom floor of the library, we'll have a little kind of meeting, we'll talk a little bit about where we are and where we're meeting up and all that good stuff, and then you are sort of free to move inside of the library and find the books that you need. If your book is on the 5th floor of Davis, where a lot of you will find books because that is one of the floors that houses US history stuff, the 6th floor is another one that you might potentially find yourself in. You're going to go on over, you're going to get in the elevator, you're going to hit that 5th button, you're going to go all the way up to the 5th floor, and it's going to open up into what are called the stacks, right? So these big open rooms, multiple football fields long, they're very, very big rooms that have just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of books. And what you can see all across the top of them, if this is just a picture of the interior of this actually does look like the 5th floor, but one of the floors of Davis anyway, then you'll see that they have these little kind of like triangular, almost like cards or labels on the top. These will tell you which books are in like this row of stacks, and this is where you'll need to look. So if you are looking for something that is, E491, you're going to need to find the cards that start with E, and then you might have to go down, down, down. Maybe you get here, and then you have to find the like E4, and then E491 by looking at the labels on the books themselves. This is something I can help you with, obviously, while we're there, but it's good to just sort of be prepared for what it looks like. Once you found your book, you can see that there's like study carrels on every floor of the library. On the downstairs, we'll talk a little bit about good places to kind of hang out with your book itself. You can use the book, you can take pictures of the book, you can type quotes from the book, anything that you want while you are in the library itself. If you do happen to find something that looks really useful, like let's say that you didn't take my advice and you didn't click on Books and More, and instead you saw something, just gonna keep looking backwards here. Instead, you saw something over here under articles like, ooh, the Iron Way, like I really want to look at this. That's maybe like an ebook or a journal article. It's possible that you might have access to it just as a high school student through something called NC Live. This gives database access to a lot of high schoolers. You do have an account, even if you've never used one. This Chapel Hill High is registered. And also, it's possible that I might be able to find it with like my own personal database access. So if you do find something that looks like a journal article that you can't get to, is asking you for like an Onion login, please feel free to email me the information about it, the sort of title itself, and I will be able to check and see if it looks like it's in NC Live, and maybe you can get access to it there, or if it looks like it's something that I can get access to and then print for you or give you a PDF of, if that's helpful. So that's sort of your very brief summary, right, of what it is that we are doing here. Again, you're going to UNC Libraries, you're doing general keyword search, you're going to Books and More, and then when you find something that looks useful, you're trying to make sure that it's in Davis Library, is the best one. That's the one we're going to be spending the most time in, or potentially the undergrad library or Wilson. If you find something in Wilson, please let me know so that I can help you prep to go use Wilson. It just takes a couple of extra steps. You have to special register because they have like old fragile documents there. You need to have at least one book that you are going to go look at when we get to Davis. It's better to have more like 2 or 3. Once you get like a book, so if you went into the stacks and you found like this specific book here, if you kind of stand back and just look at the other books around it on the shelf, sometimes you can find other ones that didn't even turn up in your searching that also might be like on the same topic or might be useful. So you need to have kind of like a target book or two before we like get on the bus, right, to go to UNC. Feel free as always to email me if you have any questions. Thank you guys for your time, and that'll do.